We are live. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Andy.
This has been a long time coming, hasn't it?
It has indeed. There's been a major countdown. We've been working on this since December, so I'm really, really excited that we are finally here and ready to share the content with everyone.
Me too. And there are such great content. There's so many great videos we've seen. It's actually been quite nice to have the online version because we've got these great videos that we can share afterwards as well.
You're exactly right. And of course, all the students that have taken part, even leading up to the finals today, have been absolutely fantastic. So yeah, we've got a great number of talks from really great students from across the school.
They really are. And I think what's lovely to me, we've been involved with FameLab, which is the Cheltenham Science Festival competition, for many years now. And I think it's lovely that we've taken their principles and applied them to every discipline in the university. So we've got students from all over the schools, haven't we?
We have indeed, yes. We actually did have in the initial competition students from across the university, but it just so happened that we've now narrowed it down to students that are within this school. So yeah, some really good stuff. Really excited to share it with you all.
There sure is. So just to let people know how we're going to work. So we're going to run through 3 different sections, 3 different year groups. Mm-hmm. And after each video, we'll have a question from one of our judges or 2 of our judges. And then at the end, we'll be announcing the winners, but we'll also be announcing a public vote winner. So as you're watching the videos, make sure you make a note of the ones you particularly like. And at the end, we'll see if there's a public vote winner that's different from what the judges decided. So this will be an interesting experiment to see whether the public feel differently. Also, to let you know, if you do have any streaming problems, there is a YouTube video for each of the videos that we have within the stream, so you can access that. And if you have a look at this link, you'll be able to see where you can go to find that. So hopefully we won't have any problems with the streams, but if your connection is not brilliant or if you get into any difficulties, then you can just click on the videos at this page and watch them yourselves. We'll try to build in some time for breaks. It's a long session we've got today, but hopefully everything will go quite smoothly. And yeah, I think that's all I've got to say. Sarah, anything else you want to cover for the audience?
Well, the one thing I wanted to just add is that the students have put in a lot of work. They are competing for some prizes. And I just wanted to say that the entire project is funded by the Salford Community for Excellence in Learning and Teaching, or SCELT for short. The project overall is actually assessing the impact of this competition on a range of outputs. So this is not the first year that we're running this. It is the first year that we're online, but we have run this now for a couple of years, and we've assessed the impact on employability. And we know that this is something that students massively enjoy. It boosts their confidence, and they feel more employable afterwards. So I just wanted to give a shout out to SCELT, thank them for making this sort of work possible.
That's brilliant. Thanks so much, Sarah. And I think it's a good time to welcome in our first judges. So let's add Mark and Dave into the stream. Good morning, guys.
Morning, Andy. Morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
So just, we haven't told actually, the judges have pre-judged the videos. So we were anxious to make sure that everything went smoothly today. So if there is any connection problems and your video doesn't get streamed as it should, don't worry. All the judges have made their selections. I think none of them know who's actually won. So it's all very secretive. Not even I know who's won, actually. I just realized that. But Sarah will tell us at the end. But yeah. But certainly it's great to have you both here, Mark and Dave, to speak to our contestants, and thanks so much for giving the time to be here. And Mark, you're from Warwick University. Are you in Warwick right now?
That's right. Well, working from home right now. Yeah. I'm in Oxfordshire, as it happens. But a long time ago, in a city far, far away, I used to work with Dr. Greensmith up in Manchester, and he told me about the PassionFlash and the previous successes you've had with it. So I was really intrigued to see how it all works out, and really fascinated to see what kind of talks pop up. So thank you very much for inviting me to be a judge. I'm really looking forward to the morning session.
Fantastic. And Dave, everyone's got a connection to Manchester, really, haven't they?
I think so, one way or another.
All roads lead back to Manchester, I think. So fantastic. So we're going to kick things off just to give you a bit of an idea of what's coming up for this first section. These are our presentations. So we're going to run in this order, starting off with Charles and Harry, then Rafaat, Rebecca, Anna, and then Leanne. So I don't know about you, but I'm sort of ready for it, Sarah. What do you think?
I'm more than ready. I mean, these talks are exceptional.
They sure are. They sure are. And we're going to kick things off with Charles Middleton, who's on our Human Biology and Infectious Disease program, and he'll be giving a presentation on fitness and weight training during the pandemic. Here we go.
One of my favourite interests is fitness, so shall we delve into the science of it all? When we exercise, hormones called dopamines, beta endorphins, norepinephrines and serotonins get released into the brain, which make us feel good. Beta endorphins bind to G-protein coupled receptors known as opioid receptors within the central nervous system. Exercise stimulates and aids the production and protection of neurons in the brain, which help reduce aging. One of the main things which aids our health and building muscle and our muscle capacity is our intake of food, so what we eat in our diet. And so, for example, high protein diets really help with the muscle building process. I have two different types of protein shakes. I have whey protein powder and casein protein powder, both of which are sourced from cow's milk. One of the main differences between the two protein powders which I've just shown you is that casein protein powder is a slow release type of protein, whereas whey protein isn't. Different protein powders may have different things added to them, for example branched chain amino acids or vitamins in things like plant-based vegan protein. So, there's two main different types of exercise. Both have different effects on the body and could be broken down further into subcategories. So, aerobic exercises which include cycling, jogging, has lower stress levels on the body and you can therefore build up endurance and go for longer durations. Aerobic exercise therefore has many health benefits, including having lower blood pressure and strengthening the heart, which some people refer to as cardio. Okay, so let's move on to anaerobic exercise. One of the exercises you may have heard of is high intensity interval training, also known as HIIT. Other examples of anaerobic exercises include calisthenics, weightlifting. Anaerobic exercising is associated with building muscle and tends to burn a lot more sugar than aerobic exercises, which is why we tend to get more lactic acid build up. So, that's enough from me. Here are some resources to get you started. If you want to get tough, get buff.
There we go. That's the first video. Let's welcome Charles into the stream. Hi, Charles.
Hello.
Hi.
Fantastic.
It's great to see
Fitness
everyone.
is such a big thing right now. Online fitness is definitely the way to go. So we've got a couple of minutes for questions from Mark and Dave. So I'll hand over to you first, Mark.
Thank you very much. Great talk, Charles. Thank you very much. I've been trying to increase my participation in fitness recently, so this is quite a relevant topic for me. Now, my question is, during lockdown, I think we've all suffered, let's say, from a bit of sitting on the sofa for too long, and our waistlines have sort of suffered in increasing width. So you mentioned aerobic and anaerobic fitness. Is one or the other better for weight loss?
So they both technically burn fat, but for weight loss, aerobic exercise is a lot better, whereas anaerobic is much better for building muscle. So it really kind of depends on like obviously your fitness goal, but aerobic I'd say is definitely the better one for weight loss.
Would you recommend a program of aerobic activity before embarking on some anaerobic sort of weight training, etc.?
Yeah, so both of them can really be used quite interchangeably. They go well together. I think with aerobic, you can obviously do longer durations and therefore burn more fat whilst you're doing it. So, but they go hand in hand really, so you can do a bit of both.
Thanks.
Great. Dave, over to you.
Okay, again, great talk, Charles. You've put me to shame. I think I'll be going out on my bike this afternoon to try and shed the guilt. But in your talk, you mentioned the importance of protein, which makes sense. But in your opinion, are carbohydrates the enemy against fitness that the sort of media purports them to be?
No, they're not. It's actually really important to have carbohydrates. A lot of the media make out that they're really bad, but like if you just cut carbohydrates out altogether, then it causes a lot of muscle wastage because you're not getting that energy to build your muscle. So it's really important that you have a good source of carbohydrates as well.
That's a relief. Okay, so obviously as a high HBID student, this is a really apt sort of area. It aligns really well to your degree. So have you got plans to perhaps combine this passion for exercise with your passion for human biology in your sort of future career aspirations?
Yeah, so I'm hopefully looking to do a PhD with something kind of interlinking the two. Excellent. Maybe perhaps something cardiovascular related.
Yeah, good choice.
Good choice indeed. I think he's trying to get in your good books now, Dave, with cardiovascular. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Charles. That was absolutely brilliant. And in addition to kind of doing this talk on exercise, Charles has actually also been a major contributor to some online exercise classes that the programme team have made available. So well done, Charles. You've really been a great part of the department this year. So thank you so much for your contributions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think now we can probably welcome our next presenter, Harry Morris. So he is a student in the Wildlife Conservation with Zoo Biology. And his talk is why we should stay away from cow's milk.
Fantastic. I look forward to hearing this. It's been a big topic of conversation in our household for the last couple of years, really. So here we go.
Interesting.
My name's Harry, and today I'm going to talk about why we should stay away from cow's milk. So I'm going to cover 3 main topics in 3 minutes. The first one is the animal itself. So a lot of people might not know this, is that in order to produce milk, a cow must first give birth in the exact same way that humans do. A human must give birth before it can produce milk. So what we do in order to produce milk on this massive scale that we do is we artificially inseminate the cow. So we force it to have a calf. We then remove it and take the milk. The male cow will most likely be killed for meat. The new baby calf will most likely be killed for meat as well, unless it's raised for milk. And the female cow will be inseminated again and again and again until it can't produce milk anymore, which is only about 4 times. So it's most likely going to be killed before the age of 6 for meat. So it's not great. The second one is health. This talk isn't about, we shouldn't drink cow's milk because it's not good for you. Because it is. That's why we drink it. It has protein in it. It has calcium in it, which is good for your teeth and your bones. It has vitamin B12 in it, which is good for red blood cell development. It has magnesium in it, which is good for muscle development. So all good stuff. It's more about obtaining these good things from more sustainable sources. So oat milk, for example, is made by getting some oats and getting some water and just blending them together, and that's it. And it contains all those good things and more, which is great. The third and final topic is the environment. So if we want to raise all these cows for milk, we need to put them somewhere. So we flatten out a lot of land, which destroys a lot of biodiversity, produces a lot of methane that goes up into the air, which raises global temperatures, not great for climate change. They use a lot of water, which we could be drinking. They eat a lot of food, which we could be eating. Another big thing is plastic pollution. So if you go to the shop to get some cow's milk, it's most likely going to be in plastic, which can only be recycled 2 or 3 times before it has to go to landfill or go in the ocean. Whereas alternative ones are usually in cardboard, which is great. So yeah, I hope you've learned something. It's more about changing little things so you can still enjoy them while making a difference and still have the things that you like. So this is oat milk in glass that gets delivered. This is chocolate oat milk. This is a oat milk branded chocolate. And Oreos, they're made with soya. So you can still enjoy the things that you want to and make a difference at the same time.
There we go. Another fantastic film. It's so amazing, the different range of topics we have and the different styles of presenting as well. So yeah, Dave and Mark, it's over to you, and we'll welcome in Harry into the stream. Hi, Harry.
Hi, you okay?
I love the fact that you're in the same position as your video.
I've just realized that, yeah.
That's so on brand. Great. So Mark, over to you first.
Thank you very much. Great talk, Harry. Obviously a subject close to your heart. So if I'm going to make the transition from cow's milk to oat milk, I've noted that there's a much lower protein content in oat milk compared to cow's milk. So what's the best way to make up that deficit in protein that I'd get from exclusively drinking oat milk?
Well, I talked about oat milk because that was the one that I found the best for me, but there's so many different alternatives out there. It took me a while to go through them all. You got soya, coconut, almond, sweetened, unsweetened, and it's got different contents in every one. So if you wanted to try it, I'd say go through the works and see what works well for you. Some has more, some less. So if protein is something that you want, maybe go for another alternative that has more of that in. But I have a lot of kind of meat substitutes in my diet that kind of bulk up the majority of my protein and things like that. So it's not a concern for me, but if it is for you, then there are other alternatives as well.
Okay, that's my next big shop challenge then.
Yep.
So Dave, over to you.
Yeah, great talk, and certainly food for thought. So yeah, I mean, we've seen in the media recently that plant-based food products, the environmental impacts aren't always perfect, and I mean, palm oil production is a really good example of that. So if hypothetically we could move most people away from a milk-based source of cow-based source of milk to alternative vegetation-based source of milk, are there any sort of environmental impacts of the amount of space required to grow all these substrates?
I know this is the difficult thing that I've found. I've tried to move over to a more vegan diet for the last kind of 2-3 years, and I've just done it very slowly. And I have found that it is difficult. You can't be perfect. And things like if you buy fish fingers, they're always in cardboard. But if you buy fishless fingers, the vegan alternative, it's always in plastic. And you do feel like you can't win sometimes. Are you making more of an impact with this or not? It's difficult to know really, but I think you've just got to take everything as it comes and try and make the better decision in your eyes. Everyone can't do everything, but everyone can do something. So I think that's the best kind of outlook.
It's really good. Thank you very much, Harry. I mean, I thought your talk was absolutely fantastic. I think the judges have missed one very important question, and that is, does a coffee taste good with oats or coconut milk?
Yeah, it does. My girlfriend likes it. Coconut milk is the best for coffees. She said, I'm not much of a coffee drinker. But she said oat milk is good for teas and coconut milk is good for coffees.
Well, I'm going to challenge myself to try coconut milk because I do like the sound of the thought of coconut with coffee. I think that will go quite nicely together.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Harry. I'd now like to introduce our next presenter. So Rafaat will be given a talk from, the talk title is Changing Our Education System. So Rafaat is a first-year student on the quantity surveying programme. Now, I met Rafaat last year during the live face-to-face events that took place. He actually competed last year, but the pandemic got in the way of that particular competition. So Rafaat is an extremely passionate individual about this topic. So I really hope that all of you will enjoy this next presentation.
Definitely. And I will remind people, because we wanted to make sure everyone had access to the videos in case there were problems with streaming. So if you are having any problems at all, then you can go to this link and you'll see the videos there and can play them in your own time. So hopefully that helps you figure it out if you're having any technical problems. So with that, yeah, we're going to see Rafaat's presentation now. It's really a cool presentation. So I look forward to seeing what it sounds like.
Hi everyone, and thanks for joining on PassionFlash. I'm Rafaat Presentation. Today I'm going to talk about higher education in United Kingdom. Over 20 years ago, Britain made the pledge to see 50% of young adults in higher education. We achieved that phenomenal dream in 2018 when record 50.3% young adults were enrolled in higher education. On average, 550,000 graduates are leaving universities every year. Over 87% of them are in employment within 6 months. It is an unprecedented achievement when we look at it from this perspective, but I want to show you this picture from another angle to arguably measure the impact of this achievement. On average, 25% of these graduates take non-graduate jobs. So they could be doing that without degree. 50% of these graduates don't work in their field of study. And their output is certainly much lesser than if they found a job in the field they studied or had studied the field they are working in. A general misconception could easily be manipulated with the general benefits of education, so I will stress you not to make that mistake. Higher education is not to improve the literacy rate of the society, and it is certainly not worth on the cost I'm going to share with you. Higher education is specialization in the field you choose to build. On the other hand, 1 in 8 graduate posts is occupied by a non-graduate person. So try to imagine their output if they had graduated in that field. Above analysis is fully justified when we look at the stats from Migration Observatory. Only 28% UK-born are working on highly skilled posts, 28% on medium-skilled posts, 34% on medium-low skilled posts, and as the skill level goes down, the number goes up. Let me walk you through the financial aspect of it now. On average, every graduate leaves university with £40,000 student debt. £17 billion are being paid for student finance every year, and 45% of it will never be paid. The debt of student loan companies was £140 billion by the end of 2019, and it is estimated to accumulate to £560 billion by 2020. These stats are screaming to arrange a joint effort to redefine this wonderful dream and articulate it in a way that we can maximize the benefits of it. We need to formulate secondary education in a way that it explores the passion in a person and helps them adopt it as their profession. In the higher education, we shall be conducting market studies and control admissions accordingly. We need to bring target market on board and in collaboration with them improve our teaching systems. Thanks very much for listening, and I welcome your questions now.
There we go. Fantastic again. Another really wonderful presentation. And Wow, it's such an important topic, isn't it? Education and curriculum design, all these matters are so important. And I think I've had so much attention over the last couple of years, especially. So welcome to Rafaat into the stream. Good to see you here.
Thank you.
Great presentation. So Mark, over to you.
Thank you very much. Hi, Rafaat. Well, that's
Hi.
a really interesting topic. You know, we're all involved with education, so this is something that we'll all be thinking about. So I've got my first question is, you describe going to university as a wonderful dream, and at the moment we get 50% of school leavers entering higher education into university, etc. Now, with the issues that you raised, do you think this is too high a number, and that 50% is too high a number to aspire to, or do you think that it is something that can be resolved?
As I described at the end of my video, that this, in my opinion, this number is not high. The education is good, and as high education as good it is. And at the end of my video, I said we just need to re-articulate this dream. So number should be as high as it is, but we shall, I think, provide a variety of options for higher education. Like now we are seeing internship programs. Government is introducing a lot of different internship programs. You are studying as well, but you are studying in the market you will be working in, so you are learning while studying. So I think number should be high, and if we can afford, it should be go even higher, but it should go in a way that everyone who leaves university benefits of the education they got from the university, and not only they benefit from it themselves, but serve for the community as well, instead of leaving the university and going back to the same thing what they could have done without university.
Just a quick follow-up then. So you say that a more integrated approach between secondary school education and higher education would help with this, the situation you described. But do you think it's appropriate for people in secondary education to choose their career at such a young age?
I will answer that question in two bits. In my personal opinion, it is not as appropriate, but because they are at a really young age, and obviously this decision cannot be given to them. And if we want to give, second part of my answer is, if we want to give this decision to them, then we need to provide a lot of guidance on the secondary education. So before they are leaving their college and going to university, they are well aware of at least themselves what they want to do with their lives, and they choose that field and specialize in that field.
Thank you very much. Dave, over to you.
Thank you.
Cheers, Matt. Thanks again. Very, very interesting, thought-provoking talk. So, I mean, one potential issue I might have is that the degrees are also great at providing a huge range of transferable skills. Okay, the degree-specific topics are only one component of doing a degree. They are designed to give these transferable skills.
Agreed.
So while it may be the case that a lot of these graduates don't enter employment that are technically directly related to their degree subject, it may be that the transferable skills imparted during those degrees, that degree process, has facilitated their progression to that employment sector, whatever it may be. So how could you reconcile that? Can we be sure we're not going to do more harm than good?
If I understood your question properly, and my answer on that is, I think a lot of, and it's a majority of students in universities, they didn't even know what they want to do with their lives. So they just joined the university, and when they were in university, obviously it's higher level of education, and they mature quite rapidly. And then they realize, you know what, really didn't want to do this in my life, but now I am here, so let's complete it. And when they realize that now their heart is not in that degree. So when you yourself are not in doing what you are doing, obviously you're not going to gain the full benefits of it. So they don't learn all of the transferable skills which universities could say we are providing at that degree level. So when they realize they don't want to do this degree, or they are not what they want to do, then they don't really learn everything, and then rest of the people who have learned on the good level, but they didn't find the job in the actual market. Now their transferable skills are with them, but the field is different. So they are not fully benefiting of it. Now that people, if they could find job in what they have studied, probably will do really good. Even they didn't know at the time of joining university what they want to do, but what they have done, if they find a job in that same field, they will do good. But they don't find job there. So that's why it will be really good. Sorry.
No. Apology. I was just going to say some really fantastic discussion, and I'm sorry to be a party pooper, but because of time, we might just need to wrap it up a little bit, and we can definitely continue the conversation in the chat.
I just have one quick comment here. I can see if you give me about 20 seconds to reply on that one.
Yes, go.
I see one good listener has said higher education opens the mind of the person, so job could not be the sole purpose. I absolutely agree with the first bit that it opens the mind, but as I said in the video, higher education is not just to open the mind, especially in our country where we are paying over £40,000 for every degree, and job is the actual goal of everyone in this world, at least today, because we all have to work to live. So, and higher education is to make us able to work better. So yeah, we shall be studying to open our minds, but in a way that we can use that mind at the best level.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the great things about the University of Salford. We're very keen on employability with the ICZ agenda and even competitions like this today, because ultimately Salford PassionFlash is all about employability. Thank you so much, Rafaat. You've got this passion that was there last year. It's still there today. And I look forward to continuing these fantastic conversations with you moving forward. Right, so next up, we have Rebecca Owens. Rebecca is a wildlife and practical conservation student and has a wonderful talk lined up all about lemurs. You're in for a treat. Without any further ado, let's move on to Rebecca's talk.
I'm here to talk to you today about my passion for lemurs. Now, when I talk to people about lemurs, I'm often surprised to find that they've heard of them through the animated Madagascar films. They've all heard of King Julian. Well, obviously these films are really cute and really fun, but I can't help but feel like they don't fully do justice to these amazing animals. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about them today, and hopefully you'll become as enthralled by them as I am. So to start with, here is a picture of me with a ring-tailed lemur above my head at the Cotswold Wildlife Park a couple of years ago. As you can see, she's not nearly as interested in me as I am in her. She's busy sunbathing. I'd also really like to meet them in the wild one day as well. So what are lemurs? Well, they're primates, rather like monkeys and apes, except they branched off on the evolutionary tree much earlier and belong to a group called prosimians, or pre-monkeys. Lemurs have special adaptations which suit them to their arboreal lifestyle. They have long limbs, long tails and long bodies, and they also have grasping hands and feet which help them as they move through the trees. Some lemurs, like the Indri, the largest of the living lemur species, can even leap from tree trunk to tree trunk, rather like mini superheroes. Lemurs are endemic to Madagascar, an island of Africa. They evolved here in isolation from the mainland species, and in doing so, they were able to fill niches which would otherwise be occupied by other mammals and birds. A really good example of this is the ai, a really unusual looking lemur. It has a long middle finger which it uses to tap on the bark of tree trunks, and it can feel for grubs and pull them out from underneath the bark a little bit like a woodpecker. There are over 100 different species of lemur found to date, so they're a really diverse group of animals. They are also omnivorous. They enjoy a varied diet. Some even have really specialised diets, like the greater bamboo lemur, which can feed on bamboo, which is poisonous to many other animals. Lemurs are social animals. Some, like the ring-tailed lemurs, can live in quite large social groups of up to 20 individuals. In these societies, the females are dominant over the males, which is quite interesting. Some lemur species, though, do live more solitary lives, such as the mouse lemurs. Unfortunately, lemurs are the world's most endangered group of mammals, and this is largely due to humans who threaten them by removing habitat for conversion to agricultural use. But don't fear, there are organisations out there working on lemur conservation and working to protect Madagascar's unique biodiversity. I really recommend checking out the Lemur Conservation Network for more information on this, along with this really interesting cast of characters, the lemurs. I hope you enjoyed my talk today. Thank you very much for listening.
Wow, what a fantastic talk. And welcome to Becky. Hi, Becky.
Hello, hi.
Amazing, just amazing. Mark, over to you. Oh, you're muted there, Mark.
So open to the world of lemurs. I didn't realize, I didn't appreciate how many different species there were. That's for a start. So you say they're endangered, and you mentioned a couple of reasons why, but I was wondering, so in the aims of preventing or conserving lemur numbers, would the best approach be to preserving their natural habitat or to increasing their conservation through the captive breeding programs, etc., elsewhere?
It's really tricky, isn't it? I mean, I think captive breeding programs definitely have a place, in the sense that these lemurs are so critical, like some of them are really critically endangered. It may be that we need to boost their population through captive breeding. But having said that, I mean, what's the point of breeding lemurs to then not really have anywhere to put them? So I think it needs to be both. And I really think, I mean, Madagascar's ecosystems are in a, you know, they need help, and there are many reasons why. And yeah, so I think it's really critical that we look at protecting areas in Madagascar, but also reforesting as well, and looking at improving the habitats we've got.
Definitely. Dave, over to you.
So yeah, very, very interesting. So my knowledge of lemurs was exclusively from the film Madagascar before this. So thanks for expanding on that. So yeah, like that, I didn't realise there were so many. But you mentioned that they evolved in isolation, and that's interesting. So how far back did this split occur? You know, what's the sort of common ancestor? At what point in evolutionary time did this population split off from that common ancestor?
So it's a very long time ago. I can't remember the exact figure, but the belief is that they came over from the mainland of Africa, and that they did this quite strangely by traveling on kind of islands of matted vegetation, and that's kind of how they got there. But they weren't actually lemurs when they first arrived. They were earlier versions, if you like, of these primates, which then evolved into the lemurs that we see today. So that's kind of how they got there.
Very fascinating. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Brilliant talk. I have to say, this was one of my personal favourites at home. I really enjoyed watching this with my daughter. So
thank you.
We'll watch it again in future with my family. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
See you, Becky.
Thank you, Becky. Now then, we've now got another fantastic talk. We've got Anna Maria White, again from Wildlife Conservation with Zoo Biology this time. And Anna will be talking about bees and neonicotinoids. Sorry, a bit of a mouthful.
Here we go.
We have over 270 species of different bees separated into 3 groups. Solitary bees, of which there are more than 250 wild species. Bumblebees, of which there are 24 species, tend to be larger, more easily identified by the colour on their tail. And we have the honeybee, the only domestic species managed and kept by beekeepers with that distinctive striped thorax, are the only ones that make honey. Bees, as small winged invertebrates, actually have an amazing ability to beat their wings 11,400 times a minute. Just listen to that. Bees see blue best on the colour spectrum. They are more attracted to flowers such as lavender, campanulas, and this heavy, which is normally covered in lots of purple flowers, they are completely blind to the colour red. Bees have smelly feet. Well, actually, they secrete an oily substance, which then tells other bees that the pollen and nectar has already been removed, so that they should go elsewhere and look for food. They pollinate 35% of the world's crops, and without them, having to pollinate everything by hand would be very costly and time-consuming. Since the 1930s, we have lost 97% of all wildflower meadows, which are prime pollinator habitat for bees. Anthropogenic factors such as pollution, urbanisation, habitat loss, and chemical pesticides, which have long been used in agricultural farming practices in order to control crop damage from insects and to maximise yields, are driving bee numbers down. Spraying these chemical cocktails don't just kill off the targeted insect pests, they affect every species that comes into contact with them. And environmentally, testing has shown that these chemicals leach into plants, the surrounding soil, and into waterways. Scientific studies clearly correlate that pesticides and insecticides such as neonicotinoids are particularly detrimental to bees, causing devastating effects, including neurological disruption, reduced sensitivity to taste, flight disorientation, leading to exhaustion, and ultimately their demise. Organic alternatives or companion planting are possible. However, intensive food production requires systematic change. The Wildlife Trust set up a petition to ask our government to reverse their decision over the use of neonicotinoids. Recent cold weather halted use temporarily, but with 1 in 10 wild bee species facing extinction, we must fight for their survival. You can sign the petition at action.wildlifetrust.org and say no to neonicotinoids. Wow, my goodness, there are some scary statistics in that presentation, weren't there, Sarah?
There really was. Again, just a really excellent presentation, and I think the filming on that particular clip is really, really good.
Sure is. Let's welcome Anna into the stream. Hi, Anna. Oh, let me unmute you. Oh, there you go.
Hello, good morning.
Amazing. So, Mark, over to you.
Thanks. It's a great talk. I'm quite fascinated by bees, but not on the level that you are. You know, I've got a much higher standard of knowledge than me, but they're fantastic creatures. So I'm wondering, in a strategy to maintain or increase bee population numbers, is there a case for using genetically modified plants that would reduce the necessity to use neonicotinoids? Is this a strategy for the future?
I think it's quite a difficult one because there's still quite a lot of the stigma around using GMO in terms of crops in general, because the generalized view of it is that actually crops like that aren't actually something that the public want to buy anyway. So it's twofold really. There's a problem with the GMO side of it and their kind of the way it's perceived. And then, you know, at the end of the day, the best ways to do anything is probably organically, because if that is the way that nature intended, it's kind of the way it should really stay. So it's very difficult to say whether or not, you know, if we are changing the way things are, that whether or not becoming more GMO will have an effect on the bees. I think the best way to do any kind of saving of populations is to look at the best ways to help bolster those populations, look at where the problems are, look at actually, and we've proved this year because of the cold weather that actually we don't need to always use a pesticide, and because of the way that they're regulated and they're only done one at a time, every pesticide has a different effect. So if you imagine putting all those different ones together, it could have detrimental effects, and it's not just bees that are affected, it's other pollinators, it's other animals, it's in our water, and it affects us as well inadvertently. So it's actually a really big problem that goes long beyond it, and GMO is only just one part of it.
That's a fantastic answer. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Dave, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating talk. And thank you for making something I was sort of vaguely aware of really accessible. So really great. So you mentioned in your talk that another major problem these bees face is loss of their wildflower habitats. So on a global, I'm assuming that this use of pesticides is sort of more associated with sort of advanced farming methods. So on a global scale, what do you think the bigger issue is? Is it the use of these pesticides or the loss of habitats, or do both contribute equally?
I think there's a problem with the way that the regulation of the pesticides is used. I mean, in England, we have quite strong and stringent regulations when it comes to any kind of chemicals, but we obviously are still having problems. There is a lot of issues in the recent reports as well about how we've got so many chemicals that are existing, even toxic chemicals that are leaching into our water systems here. So I think there are lots of things that we need to look at in terms of reforming the way that we're addressing these. We also have technology now that is allowing us to be more sensitive to picking up these chemicals in water and affect, everything around it. So we've got a lot of work to do in terms of where it is. It's global in terms of every country is going to have a different regulation. I know that in the USA, it's obviously, they have even more land to have to spray if they're going to keep up with crops, but it's just fields and fields and fields of what looks like a good outcome in terms of food, but actually it's really just desolate. That there aren't the insects that are there on the scale that they should be in terms of their population. So it is detrimental if we keep spraying everything. We need to really look at how we can reform all of the types of structuring in terms of the way that we are making agriculture in order to feed a growing population, because it is a massive problem. It is global, but I think we need to start in one place on our own patch and then grow outwards and see what works. We've got a lot of work to do.
Sounds very sensible to me. Great.
Brilliant, Anna. Thank you once again. Great presentation. The content and just the way it was presented to me was just really excellent, and great answers to the questions as well. Thank you for taking part.
You're welcome.
I now want to introduce the final presenter for the first years. Again, it's hard to believe that these are actually first year students, but anyway, this is what we're dealing with. Excellent students. So next up we have Leanne Ashworth. She's also on the Wildlife Conservation with Biology programme, and she will be talking about climate change, a really thought-provoking presentation.
Planet Earth. Our home. Is dying. And it's our fault. Will you step up? In the race against time. Before it's too late. We must act now. For their sake.
Hi, my name's Leanne Ashworth. I'm 23 years old, and 1 million species are expected to go extinct by the time I'm 50. A man-made natural disaster of a global scale is very quickly creeping up on us, and the fate of our planet's biodiversity rests in our hands. But how do we create a future that is sustainable? Well, first we need to understand how we landed ourselves in this situation. Human activities, ranging from pollution to overpopulation, have propelled us into a global climate change, mass extinction, and an overexploitation of resources. Scientists believe that the Earth has a carrying capacity of 9 to 10 billion people. Now what this means is the Earth can support that number of people without causing any environmental degradation. Currently, the Earth has a population of 7.6 billion people. However, in as little as 80 years' time, that number's estimated to rocket to 10.8 billion people. You do the math. There are many factors driving the crisis, including pollution, deforestation, over hunting, fishing, population and consumption. We are the last generation who can do anything about it because there is no planet B. Humans have become the asteroid that's causing so many species to go extinct, but the only way to save them is to save the environment in which it lives, because there's a mutual dependency between the Earth and its inhabitants. People believe there are masses of untouched wilderness out there purely because they've seen it on the TV screens at home, but the truth is, we've converted 75% of land that isn't covered in ice into human habitat.
Wow, another really big topic. I think it's amazing to see the variety of things that people are covering, but all really powerful, important subjects. So, Mark, over to you.
Thank you very much. Is Leanne here?
Oh, Leanne, where do we go? There we go. Here's Leanne. Sorry, Leanne. Good to see you.
Hi, Leanne.
I'll stay backstage, it's fine.
Great talk, Leanne. Thanks very much. It's obviously a huge issue that everyone should be aware of, and I thought your talk was excellent. It's really engaging, so whoever watches your talk will certainly be engaged with the issues you raised. So one of your points was that we've got a huge increase in population on the planet, and we might be reaching capacity. Now, in your opinion then, would changes in individuals' lifestyles be more effective than changing habits and practices of big industry through collaborations like the Paris Treaty, etc.? Which would be more effective in halting these climate changes?
I'd go with absolutely changing the way that we live our lifestyle. So if we recycled more, if we use like metal straws, biodegradable bags, if we even use bicycles to get around more, if we're going to like a local shop or something like that, even if we like go out with our families and like do a bit of litter picking while we're out there, buy packaging with the least amount of plastic on it, all these little things will help to create a bit more sustainable life, and then we'd have more resources in the future.
Okay, I got some changes to do then. I do use a metal straw. Yeah, I need to do more though. Over to you, Dave.
Just make sure you wash it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Mark. A very, very powerful talk. So very, very well done. So it's a related question to Mark's, but as a global population, is there sort of one big thing that we can do to sort of tackle this head on, or do you think the solution is probably got to be realised through integration of lots of sort of individual strategies?
It will be individual strategies with lots of different angles, because everything sort of interlocks together. The same way like species interacts with each other. There's no just one quick fix. It is going to be a case of everyone has to do these little things. Even if some do some and then some do others, like everything will like come together.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, well, great to see you here, Leanne. Fantastic presentation. Some great comments coming in from everyone who's watching online. So we may see you later. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. See you later, guys.
Thanks, Leanne.
So we are at the end of the first segment. So it's been incredible. What a whirlwind of presentations. Really fantastic work by everybody. And not least of whom we include you, Mark and Dave. So we hope to see you perhaps at the end if you're able to stick around. But thanks so much for your questions, for your judging. And yeah, we have a tough job as judges, certainly, that's for sure. But hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much. Yeah, great range of talks, and I'll look forward to the rest of the sessions. Thanks.
Cheers, Mark. Thanks,
Bye.
Dave. All right, so we are now moving into the second section, Sarah.
We are, and it's going to continue being extremely exciting. I mean, again, it's just watching those videos through. I know we've watched them several times. It's just hard to believe that these are first-year students, undergraduate students. So, it's always very nerve-wracking teaching these students after you have seen how well they present.
Yeah, it sure is. And we've got two fantastic judges joining us right now for the second segment, Danny and Niroshini. Good to see you both. So yeah, let me unmute you there, Danny. Great to have you here with us. Niroshini, I hope you can hear us all okay. Oh, I think we just muted each other. So we're going to do a similar sort of thing where we'll have each of the presentations and then we'll have questions after each one, and then hopefully we'll catch up some time. So we're a bit behind already.
We are a little bit behind. I just wanted to say, everybody knows Professor Naroshni Nirmalan as the academic lead for biomedicine. Danny Gaskin is actually one of our alumni. He is a fantastic alumni member. He did study biomedical sciences at Salford and is now a practicing senior biomedical scientist for the NHS. So thank you so much, Danny, for making time to be with us here today and contributing to the good, and it's always appreciated.
Thank you so much for the invite. Always a pleasure to come back.
Thank you.
Andy, can I just come in?
Yep, absolutely.
I'm getting an echo. Am I?
Oh, we hear you fine, so we're not getting anything from our end.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, the feed's coming through really well. So well, let's kick things off, shall we? Tell us about the first one there, Sarah.
Yes, I will introduce our first presenter from the second year talks, Adam Walker. He will be presenting pleural mesothelioma, the sneaky secret assassin, and he is one of our biomedical sciences students.
Here we go.
Hi, my name is Adam Walker, and the title of my talk is Pleural Mesothelioma, the secret sneaky assassin. Pleural mesothelioma is a topic undoubtedly close to my heart, as sadly back in 2007 I lost my granddad to this rare monstrous disease, and ever since I've developed a great passion in wanting to delve deep into what this disease actually is. Now, pleural mesothelioma is mainly caused through the exposure to asbestos fibres, with 1% of cases being genetic through the inheritance of a BAP1 mutant gene. Now, little did people know until it was banned in 1999 that using asbestos to produce efficient insulators actually released microscopic fibres, which are a tenth in the size of a grain of sand, very small indeed. Now, if I was to ask you or someone without a medical background to what pleural mesothelioma is, most would say it's a lung carcinoma related disease, but what most people actually don't know is that it's in fact a silent killer, and once you've ingested them fibres, they can lie dormant within the pleural membrane of the lung for up to 40 years without you even knowing, where one day you're living your life as normal and suddenly the secret sneaky assassin of a fibre's alarm clock metaphorically goes off and the fibre wakes up, exploding like a firework within the pleural membrane, thereby proliferating into a pleural tumour, consequently giving you less than 2 months to live. Now, my granddad was a pipe lagger in the pits in the 1980s, which involved him mixing asbestos and other substances together to produce an efficient insulator around the pipes, predisposing him to breathe in the microscopic fibres. Whereas in comparison, the 9/11 attack led people in the region of Manhattan to unknowingly breathe in the asbestos fibres when they came crashing down to the ground due to the World Trade Centers actually containing a lot of asbestos. Therefore, there's an expected surge in pleural mesothelioma cases in the next 10 to 20 years in correspondence to 9/11 related cases. Moreover, recently I came across an intriguing study where 140 school teachers have actually died from pleural mesothelioma in the past 10 years due to many schools still containing asbestos. Therefore, for example, if students slam the classroom door over time, the overdoor framework would release fibres into the classroom, leading to the students and teachers to actually kind of breathe them in. Now, on a final note, in relation to the current pandemic, due to boredom in lockdown, I've seen many people online hacking down their shadow garage without the consideration of it actually containing asbestos. Therefore, I urge people to take extra precaution and to even get an asbestos surveyor down if you suspect asbestos in your shadow garage, as it could actually save your life. So thank you very much for listening to my talk, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And I also hope I've given you a bit more of an understanding to what pleural mesothelioma is. So thank you very much.
Fantastic. Well, certainly I've got a better understanding by now. So we're going to welcome Adam into the stream. Hi, Adam.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Good to see you here.
Nice to see you. See you all.
And I'm going to hand over to Danny first for your first question.
Brilliant presentation, Adam. You showed up looking like a young Reggie Cray. You had the three-piece suit and the tie clip, and that professional appearance really grabbed my attention and won my confidence in what you had to say. So it was a good presentation, something that was quite clearly close to your heart, and that showed. And my question to you, Adam, is what might I or one of the other attendees do if we come across asbestos, say in our workplace or potential asbestos? How do we deal with that?
So asbestos is quite hard to detect because it can be in paint, it can be in cement, it can be in tiles, but it might just look like a tile might just appear normal to you. But the thing is, with asbestos, you've got to understand that it was banned in 1999, so that it's no longer being used like nowadays. So if you, let's say, knew the structure of a building and you had a garage, let's say, that was built 30 years ago, you could possibly suspect that there'd be asbestos in there, as it was one of the most used insulators back in like the 90s and 80s, as it was cheap, fire retardant, and it was a really good efficient insulator. So it was used in all the garages, schools, and all that. So you've kind of got to go off the date, and then what you do then, if you kind of suspected that due to it being, let's say, before 1999 when it was banned, you'd get in contact with an asbestos surveyor, and they'd do a survey on the structure and go off structural components of the building, and when it was kind of put in, like built and stuff, and then they'd take samples and all that.
Brilliant, thank you.
Yeah.
Great. So Niroshini, over to you.
Fantastic presentation, Adam. Really impressive. A lot of knowledge in there as well. I hadn't actually realized the impact of the Twin Tower blast, although I did see the, that storm of dust coming so many times. So what is the relationship between the dosage of inhalation and the time? Is for the disease to develop, is there any evidence to show that it has to be a long-term exposure or a huge exposure? Do you know anything around that?
So as you saw in that picture of the Twin Towers, you could see all the fumes, and you can kind of imagine how the fibers would radiate for like miles and miles, and causing the people in Manhattan at the time to actually breathe them in. But they wouldn't be aware of them actually like breathing the fibers in. So they'd get lodged within the pleural membrane of the lung, and obviously they won't know. And 40 years down the line, like about 30 to 40 years down the line, they develop pleural mesothelioma, and sadly, you've only really got like 2 months to live, due to the fact that when you become symptomatic, you tend to be in like the stage 3 of pleural mesothelioma, so it's spread below the diaphragm, it's spread to your lymph nodes, your liver. So there's an expected surge in the next like 10 to 20 years because of the 9/11 attacks, like 20 years ago now. So there's an expected surge in relation to that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Brilliant talk, Adam. And just as a bit of a side point, there is a placement available in my lab working on mesothelial cells.
What is that?
Of the peritoneal cavity, though, not the pleural cavity. So get in touch if you're interested for next year. Right, next up we have a wonderful presentation with some great creativity by Aksa Gullam. She's also one of our biomedical sciences students, and her presentation is about congenital heart disease.
Hi everyone, my name is Aksa Gullam and I'm a second year biomedical science student at the University of Salford, and today I will be presenting a heart condition called congenital heart disease. And the reason why I decided to choose this topic is because I as a baby suffered from a type of CHD called ventricular septal defect, and in simple terms a hole in the heart. And as a child I've always been intrigued to learn the reasons behind this condition. Why does it happen? So yeah, let's get started. Hello, I am your heart, and my main job is to pump blood around the body. This is my aorta, this is my left pulmonary artery, these are my left pulmonary veins, these are my right pulmonary veins, this is my superior vena cava, and this is my inferior vena cava. This is my left ventricle, this is my right ventricle, and this white in the middle is my septum. In normal circulation, the oxygenated blood returns to the right side of the heart, where it's pumped into the pulmonary artery, and then into the lungs. After being oxygenated, the blood returns to the left side of the heart. It is pumped into the aorta and out of the body. In VSD, there's an abnormal blood flow between the two ventricles, and this is due to a hole in the septum which allows blood to shunt from the left ventricle to the right ventricle. The sound of the blood squirting between the ventricles is called the holosystolic murmur. The VSD is higher up in the septum, is called membranous septum, and if it's lower down, it's called muscular septum. Usually VSD heal on their own and they don't need surgery, but if a VSD is very large, then it does need surgery. My VSD was over here, the muscular septum, and it healed on its own, lucky me, by the age of 2. Yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the little mini personal story. My heart had to go and pump some blood, but yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening. Bye.
That was amazing. I've got to show this comment in the stream already from Alexandra. It's brilliant visuals. We've got excellent use of props coming in. Someone said, Demetrius said, give her the prize now. So let's welcome in AXA to the stream. Hi, AXA.
Hello. Hi.
Great to see you here. So Danny, over to you.
AXA, I loved it. And I loved the time and effort that obviously went into putting that together. And I think the lack of technology and the use of really basic props is everything that a FameLab talk is about. So really well done on that. And my question to you is somebody who has lived experience with this, is this something that motivated your career path and why you've ended up in biomedical science, and is it something that might shape your future career? Over to you.
This is an interesting question. Actually, I have a file at home with all the documents, and I'm really thankful to my dad to have saved a file with all my tests and documents that are about this disease and how I had this condition. And the interesting part about this is I was born in Italy, so this is all written in Italian language. And I was born and raised there, but still the language, scientific language, is quite difficult to understand, even if it's Italian. So this year, I always saved that file, but never really got into understanding it. But this year, I got Google Translate, I got all my dictionaries out, and I translated every little scientific word that I didn't understand in Italian. And I think because this file has been so special to me, and I think this is something I've always wanted to talk about, but I never thought that I'd be able to talk about it now. But I think I might write an article on it as well. So I think it could have an impact on what I decide to choose later on, because I don't know if it's because of this condition, but I've always loved learning about the heart. And any lectures, even with Nirashini about the heart last year, it's just been something that I've really been intrigued to learn about. So I think it could possibly, but there's no guarantee, so I'm not going to say that I'm 100% going that way, that pathway. So yeah.
No, really well done. Really well done.
Thank you.
Over to you, Niroshini.
Very well done, AXA. It's you put in so much effort, and it was so effective as well. But very well done. Just a more personal question. If it was kind of self-healing, were you symptomatic, or is that the normal presentation, or was it an incidental finding, or do you know? How did you get to know? How many people are walking around it without being diagnosed?
Yep. Yeah, actually, I was not asymptomatic. I wouldn't say that. As soon as I was born, my parents always tell me they took me straight to a different hospital to where my mother was. And I was really, really ill. And I was ill for really, really, really ill for the first 2 or 3 months, where my parents were really scared that basically in my family, everyone thought I wouldn't survive. That's how bad the condition was. And this condition stayed with me for 2 years. So after 2 years, it did heal. The VSD did heal. But those 2 years were really tough for my mom, personally. Because of this condition,
your body gets really, really weak. And because of that, there's different problems. Personally, for me, I didn't have hair until the age of 2, like no hair at all. When my parents thought I would never have hair on my head, and there was my mom always praying every day and crying at the same time because she thought I would never have hair. But as my body healed, as I got more like energy in my body, and that is the doctors keep saying to my mom every time. They kept saying is that I need to drink more and more breast milk, and that is what's going to give me more energy and to my body as well. And because my body was so weak, it was hard for me to even swallow anything. So my mom had a very difficult time to breastfeed me as well. And I used to catch a cold very quickly compared to other kids. And I was always ill basically for the 2 years. After that, as I got better, I started grow hair on my head, and now I have very long hair, which is quite funny because my mom doesn't let me cut my hair at all. Because I think if I cut my hair, I am being very ungrateful. So I have very long hair to take care of, and it gives me a headache sometimes. But I have to respect my mom's choice because she had a tough time for 2 years. So yes. But now I would say I'm completely fine. After those 2 years that my mom had that tough time, after that I got better. And I'm very thankful that it was a small VSD. Otherwise, with surgery, even after you get surgery, it's not guaranteed for you to live a completely normal life. There's different complications. You could have other diseases, or something could go wrong with the surgery, or you might need medication later on. And even things like exercise can definitely have an impact in your life if you have surgery, any type of heart surgeries. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Fantastic, that was. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that personal story as well. We really, really appreciate it. And hopefully you can write that story up for the magazine, the Bioscience student magazine, which I know that you're a part of the society that drives that. So I look forward to reading about it as well.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, we have Nana Nabiha Yusuf. She's also a biomedical sciences student, and her presentation is about scientific and society influence on cosmetic surgery.
Hi, my name is Nana Nabiha, and today I'm going to delve into the scientific and society influence in relation to the cosmetic surgery industry. We have constant exposure on social media of what beauty should be like. This message is passed on more and more in the world we live in today, but could this be a rising issue for the younger generation? Society beauty trends are always changing throughout time. Altering your body for the sake of your own happiness is perfectly fine, but concerns on how popular procedures such as the BBL, lip fillers, breast implants, a fox eye lift, and many more will eventually go out of fashion. The influence of women getting these procedures comes from the likes of celebrity culture and new changing trends. It is important to inform young people about the risks if they are not going to the right places, especially when patients can go abroad and get cheaper procedures. The influence of social media cannot be downplayed, especially when young girls are bombarded with plastic surgery adverts and clever marketing by social media influencers. And many young supporters don't realize what happens behind the scenes. Recently, Instagram has removed all augmented reality filters that depict or promote cosmetic surgery, as there's concerns about people's mental health. Temporary fillers are very popular, and they allow you to either drain or refill if you need to. And fillers are drained using a liposuction cannula or needle. It is important to use the correct and safe filler, such as hyaluronic acid, which is a temporary derm. The Brazilian butt lift is a famous procedure which consists of fat being liposuctioned from parts of the body such as the thighs or abdomen area. This fat then gets injected into the buttocks area, which is comprised of a lot of muscle and blood vessels. However, it is very important to put it in the right place. There is a risk of injecting it into a blood vessel, which causes fat embolism. Fat particles pass into the bloodstream and get caught within a blood vessel. This can travel towards the heart and lungs, and it can be really critical. Better understanding and further research is still needed for procedures such as the BBL. And to conclude, what happens when there is no longer a trend and beauty standards change? It's important to be aware of the risks and make sure to research properly in certain procedures.
There we go. Thanks so much. Welcome, Nana, into the stream. Good to see you. Great presentation. I'm not sure we can hear you quite yet. So let's make sure we can try and get your audio working. But Danny, maybe you can ask a question whilst Nana's just trying to figure out the audio.
Yeah, absolutely. Nana, excellent topic selection. Really pertinent to these times, and a nice fusion of biological and social science. So I really enjoyed that one. And you asked the question, is this a problem for future generations? And I'll counter that question with, is this already a problem for the current generation, past generation, and future generations, and not just future generations?
Oh, we've not got your audio, unfortunately. There was always going to be one technical hitch, I think. But let's see. I think you've unmuted. It might be just the computer's having a bit of a connection problem. Let's see if we can try that again. Nana, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys?
There we go. Perfect. Look at that.
All right, okay.
Great. Did you hear the question from Danny?
Yeah, could you please repeat that again? Sorry.
Sure. So you asked the question in your talk, is this a problem for future generations? And the question I put back to you is this already a problem for our generation and for generations before us and for generations that will come after us?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a problem with like the generations that come afterwards, especially with the society we live in, like with technology and how like social media is always used. And I think it's important to realize that social media is like not reality. And yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Niroshini, over to you.
Just a quick question. I mean, it seems like something very difficult to control using social media or other mechanisms or news.
Yeah.
Do you think the formal regulatory framework, the laws and requirements are adequate to govern these kind of practices as they are, from a safety point of view?
Yeah, with like for instance, like with Instagram, they've brought up like new laws in terms of like filters and stuff that influencers advertise, and how they have to like mention if they're using certain filters to change stuff to make like people aware of like this is not real, this is like something that's being used that's not like a reflection of what is reality, I guess.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Brilliant
you.
talk.
It's very nice talk, very powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the scary thing is, in answer to some of the conversation, really, is if you were to go onto an online shopping, you can actually order some of these fillers.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
There are no regulations controlling who purchases these things. So next up, we have a really fun talk by Zain Mirza. He is a human biology and infectious diseases student, and the title of his talk is "Are All Your Memories Real?"
What if I said to you that your recent memories, your recollections, some of them from your maybe childhood or recent past may have never happened? What does this mean? Will you start to doubt your very own existence? Why does this happen? So many questions, but so little time. Your brain works by storing data or information. Many studies have gone into researching this very topic. Now let me tell you a little story. In the 1990s, a study was carried out where participants would recall getting lost in a shopping mall as kids. Now, some were even able to recall this memory in vivid detail. One participant even remembered that the old man who was actually helping him was wearing a checkered shirt. And like all good stories, our story also has a twist. The weird thing was that none of the participants had actually gotten lost in the mall. They all had these false memories, as the psychologist who was conducting the study had told them that they'd actually gotten lost. Even though they may not remember this, it had been confirmed by their parents. It wasn't even like 1 or 2 people who actually thought they remembered getting lost. Unbelievably, a quarter of all the participants actually did. Many different studies have actually taken place and all show that our memories aren't always as reliable as we want them to be. Even though we don't know why this happens on a neurological level, studies have shown that highlight that things such as fake news, misinformation can also be added into our recollection, whether we want it or not to be, and without us even knowing. And trying to film, realizing as we try to fill in the gaps, creating subliminal messages. This is just one example of influence which can affect your memory. Has this ever happened to you? Our memory is thought to work a little like a Wikipedia page. You can go in and change it, but so can other people. Our memory is reconstructive and it's not actually set in stone. Therefore, our memories are not facts, but are subjective recollections and should only actually be treated that way. What we believe to have happened may have never actually happened in the past.
So before I finish, I would like to try something. Keep staring at the black dot at the center of the image. Now this is another way your brain lies to you and tries to make things up by filling in the missing gaps. So when I change the image over, what do you see? It's a coloured image, right? Well, blink and look again. It's actually black and white.
There we go. That was fantastic, wasn't it? What do you think, Sarah?
I thought it was really good, and I've watched that video several times just to check whether or not Zane is tricking us, and I want to see this live.
Yes, definitely. So let's welcome Zane into the stream. We've just managed to solve a technical issue, so I'm really glad to see his Zane.
I've had to use my phone instead.
So, well, over to you, Danny. Oops, I think I'll unmute you there, Danny. Go for it.
Thank you. Really interesting topic, Zane. Again, and I really enjoyed your sort of your casual, almost TikTok style approach to the delivery. It was really engaging, and the topic itself had me hooked even before you started speaking. So really well done. And my question to you is, if our brains can be manipulated in this way to perhaps remember something that didn't even happen, do you think there's scope for us to forget things we don't want to remember?
I think it is possible. It's basically like your recollections. It's subliminal the way it affects your brain, if you know what I mean. And they're trying to research into why it happens neurologically, but they're not 100% sure. They know it's something to do with the hippocampus and transferring short-term to long-term memory, and it's something implemented about that, but they're not 100% sure how it actually happens, if you know what I mean. They just know that little things can get put into your brain without you even actually realizing it.
Quite scary, but interesting as well.
Very. Niroshini, over to you.
I mean, on a related point, is there any evidence to show that it's the nasty or uncomfortable memories that get altered more than the happy, wonderful ones?
To be honest, they've done loads of investigations, and they've done investigations into crime scenes as well. So, for example, in court, when you're trying to remember who actually committed the crime and things like that, and they've done that, people have been wrongly convicted because of their memories. So they might over-exaggerate on a certain thing, or certain things they've heard in court when they ask you questions, they might kind of have a knock-on effect and make you believe the person looked one way instead of another way, do you know what I mean? And that's a lot more common, and it's been in 25% of all the cases they tried as well. So it's quite a common thing as well.
Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really brilliant, Zane. Thank you. And it was really great the way that you told it as a story, and it was quite casual. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks, Zane.
Right. So next up, we've got Adam Jones talking about cystic fibrosis, and again, Adam is one of our fantastic biomedical sciences students.
Adam, and I am a second-year biomedical scientist student, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about cystic fibrosis. So, for anyone that doesn't know what cystic fibrosis is, it is a disease which is caused by a mutation in the CFTR gene. It's an autosomal recessive disorder, which means that you have to have a copy of the mutated gene from both your mum and your dad. So what actually is cystic fibrosis, and how does it make you feel? So cystic fibrosis is a progressive lung disorder which causes mucus to build up within the lungs and the digestive tract. And people with the disease often describe having cystic fibrosis as almost feeling like you're breathing through a straw or having a heavy object in your chest. Now, people with the disease tend to also have breathing difficulties and recurring chest infections. And the reason for this is because of the mucus that builds up in the lungs. Now, mucus is the perfect environment for microorganisms like bacteria to thrive. There are around 10,600 different people in the UK living with cystic fibrosis and around 100,000 people worldwide. And these people have an average life expectancy of around 44 years old, which may not sound like a lot, but has actually increased drastically over the years due to advances in technology. Cystic fibrosis is diagnosed through a test known as the heel prick test, which is a test taken at birth in which a small sample of blood is taken from a child's heel and tested for a number of different disorders. One of those disorders being cystic fibrosis. If this test suggests that the child does have cystic fibrosis, then a secondary test is taken known as a sweat test, in which the salt content of the child's sweat is tested, as people with cystic fibrosis strangely tend to have higher levels of salt content within their sweat. If this test comes back that the salt content is quite high, then it is highly likely that that child has cystic fibrosis. Now, unbeknownst to a lot of people, people with cystic fibrosis cannot actually come within 2 meters of each other at any time. And the reason for this is because each person with cystic fibrosis has different types of bacteria within the lungs. And while one type of bacteria might be completely fine for one person with cystic fibrosis, it can actually be very, very serious and damaging to another person with cystic fibrosis and can actually kill them. So they have to be really, really careful. So for people with cystic fibrosis, social distancing is normal for them. Now, I hope you learned a few things today about cystic fibrosis, and if there's anything else you'd like to know, then I highly recommend you view the cystic fibrosis website known as cysticfibrosis.org.uk.
All right, fantastic talk there. So Danny, over to you.
Yeah, another really, really interesting talk, and you know, I liked the way that you really explain with confidence. You know, you look like a natural speaker. The use of hand gestures at the pace which you delivered talk was really engaging. So really well done on that. And now the question I want to ask you is, you mentioned that people living with cystic fibrosis have a relatively short lifespan, and that's really sad to learn. And for the last year and a half, we've all lived quite a limited life. How has life been for people living with cystic fibrosis during the pandemic and the social distancing and the measures that have been put in place?
From what I know, actually really, really hard. So a friend of mine, his sister suffers from cystic fibrosis, and she hasn't left the house once in the past year. Now, I can't say the same for every single person with cystic fibrosis, because some may just, it might drive them insane staying inside the house. I know it would drive me insane. But for her, she just could not risk leaving the house because of how severe the illness is for her. So, I mean, for people with cystic fibrosis, they might be able to go for like a walk or something like that, but it would be very risky for them to go to like a supermarket or, just be around other people, just because of the risk of the disease, really. They would have been classed as high risk, and they would have had the letter from the government asking them to isolate from the start of the pandemic. And, I know that for my friend's sister, that was definitely the case. But obviously, for people with cystic fibrosis now, it's definitely a really nice thing because they're able to get the vaccine quite early on because they're in a high priority group. So they'll, hopefully be able to carry on living their lives soon. And hopefully most of them will be having the second vaccine shortly.
Good. Thank you.
No problem.
Niroshini, over to you.
Right. Great talk. Quite a lot of detail there.
Thank you.
It puts things into perspective, doesn't it? Because here's us complaining of 1 year of social distancing. Were there any recent breakthroughs or discoveries that have made that have lengthened or improved the prognosis of this disease in terms of treatment?
So I have actually had quite a bit of a look into the different treatments and things that are available. And obviously I did talk a little bit in my video about the fact that the life expectancy has increased because of advances in technology. So there are a couple of different things that are available now. And one of the devices that's used is a device that is able to it produces small vibrations that makes it easier for the mucus to come up into the lungs for the person with cystic fibrosis to cough out. That's just one example. Another type of treatment a lot of people have is obviously antibiotics because of the recurring lung infections that they have. I know that some people do end up having a transplant if the lungs become that damaged, and there's the chance that they won't reject that transplant. There's been quite a few different types of treatments that have come about in recent years. I know that there's a lot of trials going on at the minute as well. A friend of mine is trialing a drug. I cannot remember what the name of it is because it's always one of those ones that it's hard to pronounce. But I know that he's trying it, and he said he's never felt better than he has until he started taking this drug, and he feels like he can finally really breathe for the first time. Because it can be quite a restricting illness that really does make you feel like you're struggling to breathe quite often. And I'm full of a cold at the minute, so I kind of feel that right now. But hopefully the prognosis will increase drastically over the next few years. But for now, 44 is quite good in comparison to earlier years, in which I saw a comment not long just pop up on the screen saying that someone's friend passed away at 19. It's such a sad and terrible disease. But like I said, hopefully in a few years there will be an even better prognosis than there is now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well
brilliant presentation, Adam. Quite a challenging topic, but the delivery was excellent, and we've definitely learned an awful lot from you. So thank you very much.
I hope so. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Adam.
you.
Well done.
Thank you.
So the last second year talk that we have is a bit of an unusual one. Completely different format to the others, and I won't say too much about it because I don't want to spoil the surprise. But it's by Nadia Patel. And she's also a biomedical sciences student, and the title of the talk is The Future of Gene Editing.
Imagine a world in which the entire pharmaceutical industry is a thing of the past. No more pills or injections, over-the-counter medicines to prescription-only drugs, all well on their way to being forgotten. All you have to do to solve nearly every single known health issue is just take one pill. Inside this pill are larvae which will eventually grow into tapeworms. These will hatch once entering your body and set up camp in your intestine for about a decade or so. These are not ordinary parasitic worms. They are genetically engineered tapeworms, their DNA crafted to each and every human, a bespoke healthcare system all contained within the intestine. It's programmed to secrete certain chemicals into the bloodstream as and when they're needed, destroying the need to ever have to swallow a pill or inject medication ever again. Insulin injections, allergy pills and antihistamines, antibiotics and contraceptives, all gone. Now, anyone who's consumed anything sci-fi is probably starting to imagine all the ways in which this could go terribly, terribly wrong, and that when things sound too good to be true, they usually are. This is a world that Mira Grant has created in her Parasitology series, a science fiction trilogy set a few decades in the future that follow a 26-year-old woman called Sal, who puts herself in a unique position to get to the bottom of a strange epidemic, where the parasitic implants are thought to be the cause of the mysterious sleeping sickness. They lead to respiratory issues and even changes in brain chemistry. But as she soon learns, if you ask the questions, best be sure you want to know. These questions about what it means to be human and making attempts to improve our experience on this planet are at the core of the human experience. Which then leads on to the discovery of CRISPR. In short, it was a discovery made after observing the way that some bacteria reacted to attack from viral infection. Its discovery was revolutionary as it allows us to make precise, targeted changes in the DNA of living things. Soon, conversations would start to lead in many directions, stemming from the immense control that these new techniques gave us. Scientists at Cornell University in the States found a way of editing the genes in butterflies to actually repaint their wings. Scientists at MIT found ways to make changes to mosquito populations to effectively eradicate malaria. These discoveries give us the power to change the biosphere, revolutionize society as we know it. Scientists around the world have even theorized all kinds of alterations to human DNA, alterations that are relatively simple to make, should you have the right kind of knowledge, skills, and equipment, and the possibilities are quite endless, depending on the perspective. Some have suggested that this technology should be used to save our dying and damaged planet. What if we could edit the genomics of coral reefs to make them stronger and more resistant to damage? Edit the genes of certain trees to make them more able to adapt to our changing climate? Then, of course, comes the discussion on designer babies, where parents can not only learn about the characteristics of their future baby, but also edit its genome as they see fit. Few have alluded to the possible creation of special soldiers who will be able to fight with bravery and courage, who won't experience fear or pain. The time has come where we have the ability and power to engineer the human race. But with these exciting advances comes risk. We have to consider the chances of creating problems that can't be put back in a test tube. Now, Special Forces soldiers made immune to torture. Is that evil? Are any of the technologies inherently good or evil? Arguably, they are simply tools that provide power. It's the use of said tools that determines the results, and maybe not the tools themselves. We have a responsibility to use human ingenuity and skills carefully, as these skills and discoveries are power. The guidelines for use of that power are now what need to be determined, because humans have used these skills before, particularly in the food we eat, the life forms we eat. Corn used to be grass, tomatoes small bitter berries. It was human ingenuity and curiosity that resulted in sophisticated agriculture that then went on to form the basis of human society. But is this an oversimplification? We have to remember that the relationship between our genes and our environment is incredibly complex. Now, arguably, what we can do is an insignificant fraction of what nature has already done. Nature invented CRISPR. It was first observed in a bacterial cell. We hijacked the process to replicate it in other life forms. All in all, it's clear that we as a race should have some humility in front of nature. But where do we draw the line? What is the line? Is it a selective filter or a barricade? And if there is to be a line, who gets to draw it? So, how much is too much and how far is too far? And just because we can do something, does it really mean that we should?
Well, that's one of my favourite topics. I've written so much about the ethics of this subject that I'm very biased towards this presentation. Welcome, Nadia, into the stream. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Fantastic. So let's go straight to questions. Danny, over to you.
Nadia, a brilliant presentation, and the way you delivered it reminded me of when I was studying for my exams in final year, watching YouTube and the way the osmosis and others used paintings and drawings to explain difficult concepts. So really good presentation. And my question to you is, yes, this technology, very exciting, potentially has the potential to revolutionize medicine. In my line of work, we're already seeing it with things like CAR T cell therapy. But the ethical questions around this kind of work, how much might them questions influence the progress we make with utilizing this technology?
I think they'll have quite a big influence because I think we're only just realizing how powerful this is, how powerful the technology is, because it's basically a word processor for DNA. It's Microsoft Word for genomes, which is a massive tool, and with I think to think about where all the different directions we can take this is only now just being considered. I think the first line that we'll see this first sort of direction that we'll see this technology is going is genetic medicine, and like the last presentation on cystic fibrosis, for example, single gene diseases that are caused by single gene mutations, things will sort of it CRISPR, the technologies will, you know, sort of change, have the capacity to change the way that those diseases are treated. In terms of like things like making people taller, making people more intelligent or more beautiful, I think that's probably going to stay very, very far into the future, especially because, like we said, we don't even know how memories work. We don't really understand intelligence. So yeah, I think that from what I've read, I think that's very, very far into the future. But in terms of genetic medicine and personalized medicine and things like that, that's definitely something we can start to see.
Thank you. Really good answer.
Roshni, over to you.
Fascinating, in-depth talk, Nadia, and presented really, really well as well. So you kind of assume that some of these things, I mean, these are brilliant technologies, and they're progressing. There's no doubt about that. And you can pick and choose good things if we want to. But do you really trust human beings to do that and say, okay, this is later, and let's just. So who do you think should be in charge of this decision making?
That's a really interesting question, because I think there is remnants of like that kind of regulation on scientific research already, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this fits into all of that. So like there's regulation on sort of the research on human tissue, living tissue, and things like that. So seeing that fit into like sort of governments, whether that's governments or universities, I sort of research institutions, I can't really say, because it's really, really complicated and it's very, very new. But I think one thing about whether or not you trust it, I think whether or not we trust humans to go ahead and make these changes is I think really interesting to think about, because that's basically all of sci-fi, of like humans doing something and then bringing a storm on themselves. So yeah, I don't know. And also there's limitations to the technique itself. I think I didn't really touch on that in the clip, where, you know, there are some studies show that it's 80% effective. And then some say that it's barely even 60% effective at making the targeted changes. So there's a lot to learn. I think there's still a lot to study. There's a lot of study to be done before things can be said in sort of set in stone.
Thank you. That was fantastic. Really fantastic.
Really good. Well done.
Thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I think we're now going to jump straight over to the final and MSc level talks, aren't we, Andy?
We are. We're going to thank, first of all, Danny and Roshni for their fantastic questions, which has been wonderful. It's a real whirlwind, and being a judge isn't that easy. I'm familiar with the experience. It's quite a challenge, but we've had some lovely answers. So thanks a lot, and hope to see you soon later in the stream.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Bye. Bye.
Take care.
So yes, and we can also welcome 2 new judges, which is fantastic. So we're moving into our final stream, and we've got Ali joining us. Good to see you, Ali.
Hello, yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic. And here is Arjit too. Good to see you, Arjit.
Hi guys, is my audio clear?
Great to hear. Great to see all your comments in the stream as well there, Arjit. It's fantastic to see you both joining the session throughout. So we're going to crack into the first session, I think. So Sarah, over to you.
Yes, we are indeed. So first up, we have a biomedical sciences student, final year biomedical sciences student, Kevin Robin, and he will be talking about is time travel possible?
And I will remind everybody that we have a public vote at the end of this. So we've got the judges' votes, but we've also got a wildcard public vote. So make sure you note your favorite entry. You'll be asked to choose just one that you think is your favorite. And so make sure you make notes of this as we go through it. So here we go for our final third. Over to Kevin.
Hi guys. Imagine you have a time machine which lets you travel through time. One fine Sunday afternoon, you get a eureka moment and decide to go back to the 19th century to meet your great-great-grandfather. Before you go, you take a Beretta M9 pistol and hide it in your jacket pocket. Now you step into the time machine and alakazam, in no time, you are transported back to the 1800s. Now imagine you track down where your great-great-grandfather is located, and you take the pistol and fire 3 shots at him. R.I.P. Grandpappy, nice knowing you. But if we think about this, you wouldn't have existed if you killed your great-great-grandfather. This is the grandfather paradox, and I would argue it's the most fascinating paradox ever, as it asks the pertinent question, is time travel even possible? Let's delve a bit deeper. Okay, now suppose you and I are wearing identical watches, which have the exact same time to the second. I get on board a rocket to space while you stay on Earth. As I travel around the planet and make a few orbits around the Earth at 27,000 kilometers per hour, when I return back to Earth and then compare both watches, we will surprisingly discover that less time has passed for me. An extremely minute difference, but physics still proves that there will be a difference. This is called time dilation, and according to Einstein's theory of relativity, time measured along different trajectories is affected by differences in either gravity or velocity, each of which affects time in different ways. What does this mean? This scientific truth is the reason why astronauts who spend 6 months on the International Space Station age roughly 0.005 seconds less than people on Earth. This is clearly insignificant. But if we imagine we could travel close to the speed of light, this insignificant value shoots up exponentially. Now here's where things get a bit insane. If you got on board a spacecraft which went to space and travelled a distance of 10 light years at 90% the speed of light, then returned back to Earth after 22 Earth years, you would have aged only 9 Earth years. So in effect, you travel 13 years into the future. The weirdest part, this is scientifically sound. So in summary, going back in time to alter events is not logically possible, as it is paradoxical in nature. However, theoretically we can travel forward in time by travelling at immense speeds, so we shouldn't think of time travel as something of science fiction, but possibly a thing of science fact.
There we go. Well, it might be that Kevin has taken his time machine and gone off somewhere and failed to get back because we can't find Kevin. So if you're out there, Kevin, then come back to us. We'd love to see you, because I'm sure both Arijit and Ali have some really great questions for you. But without further ado, we'll move on to the next presentation. Sarah, so what have we got next?
So next up, we've got Courtney Riley, also a biomedical sciences student, talking about genomics.
Here we go. Oh, no, we don't.
Is genomics the future? Hi, my name is Courtney and I'm a final year biomedical science student. And today I'm briefly going to talk to you about genomics and how in the future this has the potential to detect disease before you're aware you even have one. So I find this topic particularly interesting because imagine future generations, maybe families of your own, being able to detect a disease before they are even aware that they have one. Some of you may be wondering how genomics is going to contribute to a healthier population. We'll start off with the basics, beginning with the genome. This is an organism's complete set of genetic instructions. It is needed to build and maintain that organism throughout its life. Now, whether that's a dog or a plant, every living organism has its own unique genome, whereas genomics is an interdisciplinary field of biology which focuses on the structure, evolution, mapping and editing of genomes. An interesting fact for you is that the human genome is made up of 3.2 billion bases of DNA. And now, thanks to developments in genomics, we are now able to sequence whole genomes. In 2012, the NHS initiated the 100,000 Genome Project. This focused on sequencing 100,000 genomes from NHS patients, those with rare diseases, cancer and their families. Nothing of this scale has ever been done before, but it has allowed us to understand and identify changes within these patient genomes, making way for better treatments, earlier diagnosis and better prognosis. To date, they have sequenced over 97,000 families, totaling to 21 petabytes of data. Now, if we put this into perspective, it will blow your mind. So 1 petabyte of data in music terms would take 2,000 years to play on an MP3 player. The 100,000 Genome Project has the potential to transform modern medicine, and it has been put into practice. Jessica Wright is a young girl and she is now 4 years old. She has a rare genetic disorder which causes her to have epilepsy and it affects her movement and general development. She is one of the first to be diagnosed with the aid of the 100,000 Genome Project. Through this project, they identified a mutation in the SLC2A1 gene causing a GLUT1 deficiency. This is responsible for carrying glucose to the brain. And from this project, she now has a more tailored treatment and diet plan, giving her the chance of a better quality of life. A statement from her parents said that the most important outcome from this project has taken the uncertainty out of life for them. As with everything, there are concerns associated with this, such as commercialisation, who benefits from this data, ethical issues, privacy and confidentiality, all of which need to be addressed before genomics can be implemented into modern medicine and disease. Thanks for listening, I hope you enjoyed.
There we go. Fantastic. Well, let's welcome Courtney into the stream. Hello.
Hello.
Good to see you here. So fantastic talk, and we'll hand straight over to Ali for the first question.
Hi, Connie. that was a nice talk. A very interesting topic you raised in the talk is the misuse of genetic data that some companies may make. So can you elaborate on that? Can you tell us what kinds of misuse do you think some companies could make of genetic data?
So there's obviously the issues with consent, like who is responsible for that data? Does it still belong to the patient or does it belong to the NHS or whatever company's got that? So there's obviously the issues associated with that and what they can then do with that data if it belongs to the company, that the patient might not want them to share that data with anyone. It might be something they want to be kept confidential. There's also the problem with it does have the potential to allow the designer babies theory, where if like a certain gene causes a certain genetic disorder, this in the future could make it normal for the genetic babies to be designed without those genes that cause these genetic disorders, which is quite a scary concept, really. It's like playing God. And then there's other issues like discrimination. If somebody's got a genetic disorder that they know about, this data could be leaked out and it may affect maybe job roles that they could get and possibly a health insurance. They may be denied some sort of health insurance as well. So there is a lot of issues regarding this and what companies do with this information, sort of thing.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Definitely over to you, Arijit.
Hi, Courtney. Great talk. Nice to see some of the things we discussed in the lecture made the way into your presentation. So that's brilliant. So question is, do you think in an ideal world for humans only, of course, animals is a different ballgame, should we sequence every genome for better healthcare?
Personally, I think it is a very, it probably will become the future, because why not improve somebody's health and maybe a better prognosis? And you can see if it's hereditary, so I think if we could sequence everybody's DNA, it would be great, but there is a lot of issues that need to be sorted before it can be implemented, like I've said. So for me, because I enjoy genetics and science, for me, I'd love that to be implemented into the real world, but other people will have problems with that. So it's trying to get a balance on what we do with it.
Great answer. Thanks.
Wonderful talk, Courtney. So I think we'll move on now to the next talk. So now we're going to hear from one of our cybersecurity threat intelligence and forensics students. Aliyu Yisa will be talking about cybersecurity.
Hello, my name is Aliyu and I'll be talking about cyber attacks. So you probably heard about cyber attacks like data breaches, corporate hacks, email scams, phone scams, and everything like that. But we're now seeing more attacks now that pose a real danger to human life and the environment. Hospitals are now a hot target for ransomware attacks, which forces them to pay a huge amount of money or risk losing all their data. because you know, human life cannot really be overvalued. During the COVID spike, there was actually an increase in the number of ransomware attacks that hit hospitals, you know, which is very terrible, but you know, they're just bad people and they'll always find a way to do their bad things, and technology is just one of the tools they use nowadays. In Florida, a hacker tried to poison their water supply by hacking into a computer and increasing the levels of sodium hydroxide in the water. Luckily, the attack was stopped before it became really dangerous, but how long are we going to keep getting lucky like this? Criminals breached the electricity grid in Ukraine, which actually caused about more than 200,000 homes to lose power temporarily. And it makes me sad that technology that's supposed to be this beautiful thing that makes our lives easier and, you know, opens up new possibilities for us has literally become a weapon.
Because some men aren't looking for anything logical like money. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
So what I'm getting at is, as we depend more and more on these devices, the risk increases. I mean, we have so many devices now, our mobile phones, smartwatch, wearables, lights, fridges, Google Home, Alexa, and these devices know pretty much everything to know about our lives. And
sorry, I don't have an answer for that.
As I was saying, these devices know pretty much everything about us, and the bad actors never stop improving, they never stop looking for new targets, which is why every single one of us needs to be more cyber aware, and we need to be vigilant, because the more aware and vigilant we are, the safer we'll all be. So do you know if you've been affected by a data breach? Well, it's kind of easy to find out. Just go to Firefox Monitor and it tells you the breaches that your data was found in, maybe your password or phone number that was leaked, and then it tells you what you need to do to be safer. So go ahead, check it out.
There we go. Thank you so much. And Aliu is here. Welcome to the stream. Hi, Aliu. Good to see you.
Hello.
Fantastic presentation. So, Ali, over to you.
Hi, Aliu. That was nice topic. Many interesting issues that you raised with current technology advancements. And you mentioned quite a few devices that most people have in their home or on themselves nowadays.
Yeah.
What are, with so many security breaches possible happening, how can we protect ourselves from them on a daily basis?
Right. So it's a question of who are you? That's one. And what kind of risk are you exposed to? So what I mean by that is, depending on who you are, let's say me, for example, I'll be a low value target compared to someone like, I don't know, Boris Johnson, because he's the prime minister. He's going to be a bigger target. So more sophisticated attackers would try to, would try to hack him than me, because what would an attacker gain by hacking my phone? I mean, there's a lot of information there. You could use that to launch more attacks. But what I'm trying to say is, regular people, we can protect ourselves by using good passwords, using social media more carefully, because there's a lot of information that people put on social media that's not supposed to be there. Some information you put out there can actually be used to guess your password if your password is not good enough. So it's about using good passwords, limiting the kind of information you put out there, and kind of limiting the platforms you use. I mean, we all use social media and it's very, useful and interesting, but at the same time, you need to just be careful and conscious about what you put out there, and be, aware of the risks. So when the thing is, when you're aware of the risks, it makes you more conscious when you're signing up for different platforms, when you're posting on social media. So that's it.
Thanks, Ajay.
Thank you. Arjit, over to you.
Hi, Ali. Great, very important topic and very well presented. So I was wondering, because data can be of different types, right? Our pictures, our videos, our information. So is there any specific type of data that the criminals or offenders are mostly after, that we should be more careful about?
Right. So when it comes to on a personal level, it's anything can be any kind of data can be weaponized. Let me think of an example quickly. So let's say you have some private information on your phone, like your conversations with people and things like that. If that information gets stolen, someone can use it to blackmail you, and or if someone kind of hacks into your phone, they can use that as kind of a launching pad to scam people on your contact list, or they can use you as a hub to spread malware around. And so it's kind of there's different possibilities, and any single type of data that you can think of, as long as it's private and you don't want it out there, it's going to be valuable to someone at some point.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thanks so much for being here, Aliyu, and it's been a great presentation. So hope to see you later.
Yeah, thank you.
So now we are going to go back in time because Kevin is joining us. Welcome, Kevin. We found you. Good to see you here.
It's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan.
Yeah.
just to reiterate my time traveling ability.
Now.
Yeah, it's good to have you. I know Ali and Arjit have 2 questions for you. So over to you, Ali.
Okay. Okay. So back to the previous presentation, Kevin. To your time travel thing. So I was wondering. So you say we can't travel back in time, but there are a few theories that say that if there are multiverses, this could be an answer to time travel to the past. That you just travel to a different multiverse. What do you think of this hypothesis?
See, I'm not sure, because the multiverse theory is just a theory, so we don't know that definitively as a fact. But if the multiverse is true, then possibly time travel could happen in that sense. But we don't know if multiverses are actually a thing, so it's speculative. Yeah.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Arjit, over to you.
Yeah, hi, Kevin. I was time traveling myself in the past, trying to remember what you spoke about.
Yeah.
Just one question. Of course, I mean, fascinating information you put, but I have a much more mundane question. Is that within the Earth, when we travel, we either lose or gain time depending on how far and which direction we are going, right?
Okay.
In terms of our different time zones that we travel through. Right?
Okay, yeah.
And how does that relate to the information you put in your talk? So what I'm talking about is, if you travel around 180-degree longitude, you can gain or lose 24 hours, right?
Okay.
On time. So how that relates to your example of space, where you lose only 0.00 something second? How does this to connect?
I'm not sure. Did you say that if you when you're on Earth, your time is different? I don't understand. I'm not sure if I understood your question.
So if you take a plane from Manchester and go to Berlin, you would gain 1 hour.
Okay.
So how does that relate to your concept of time traveling?
This is based on Earth, because on Earth there are different time zones, like the Greenwich Meridian time. This different time zones. That's nothing to do with time travel, because the time travel is how it's relation to the time in space, in Earth, like different places in space and different gravity and different speeds and different velocities. This is what you're talking about, is about different time zones in the Earth. Time travel is basically like, if you travel at the speed of light or close to the speed of light, you are effectively going back in time, because you are because you're traveling. Yeah, because you're traveling really fast, and that relation to the in space to the Earth is exponential. The time dilation is exponential when in relation to the Earth. But what you were talking about was time zones. I think that's what you meant.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Arijit. You were delving there into Simon Cowell territory. We don't want you there. You're one of the nice judges, aren't you? Tricky questions. Okay, I think in the interest of time, we'll probably jump on to the next talk. Great presentation, Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see you.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Okay, so next up we have Mohsen Abed. He is a quantity surveying student and he's talking about his passion for reading.
Again, this is Mohsen Abed and this is my TED Talk. In the auditions, I talked about how to acquire a good habit or to eliminate bad one. But why this topic specifically? In my master's, I found that I have to read a lot and I don't like reading. So I started to make a search to see how I can acquire this habit. So I found an interesting book called The Atomic Habit. It's written by James Clear. And James said that you have to apply the loop, which is the habit consists of, to apply it perfectly to start acquiring the habit that you want. The loop is consistent of 4 things: 2 C's and 2 R: cue, craving, response, and reward. So I gave an example about that, and I said I would decide that I have to read 2 pages before I sleep every day. So I put a book beside my bed. When I go to my bed, I found the book, which is the cue. This will trigger the craving, which is the book. I will grab it. This will provide or motivate the response. So I start to read the 2 pages. And finally, this will provide the satisfaction or the knowledge that I want. But how to apply this perfectly? Starting with the cue. The cue should be very, very obvious. And how you can do that? It's very easy. You just connect it with the time and the location. That's why I put the book beside my bed. This is the location, and I decided to read every night. This is the time. When you do that, you will guarantee that you will start your loop every day. This will trigger the craving, and the craving should be nice. Because, for example, if this book about politics, and I don't like politics, I will not read. If I read today, I will not read tomorrow. So I started, or I chose the book of football. It was about Sir Alex Ferguson, because I love him and I am a Manchester United fan. Sorry for Reds fan. I know the hate between us, but it's okay. So when your craving is very nice, you will read. Sometimes I just read because I love this person. I love this book. So you have to make sure that it's attractive. This will motivate the response, and the response should be very easy, because if it's 2 pages, I will read. If it's 10, I will not read. So this is very important. It's not about how much times you will do that, not about the amount of time. It's about how many times. It's about the number of times, because we are, as people, tend to the least effort. So you have to make sure that it's very easy. This will provide the satisfaction, and satisfaction you have to put immediate satisfaction, like piece of chocolate. If you put piece of chocolate, sometimes I just read to get this piece of chocolate, because we are people most likely go for the experience which give us the immediate reward over the delayed reward. This is very important, and the result was really, really great, really great. I hope this presentation was nice, and thank you so much. Bye bye.
Well, thank you very much. That was a great presentation. As someone that needs to find greater habits in reading, this is very much on par for me. So we have 2 questions from Arijit and Alejandro. So Ali, over to you first. Oh, let's welcome Alison into the stream. Almost forgot. Hi there, Alison. Good to see you.
Hello, good to see you too.
Hi, Mohsen.
Hi.
I mean, that's such a relevant topic nowadays, where people have very short attention span for everything, and can be distracted all the time and not get into habits easily. So have you looked into how some phone apps are now used for habit creation and helping with that cue that is given, rather than by a physical object, by a notification on your phone that says you should stop doing this and get into doing whatever you had to do?
I'm sorry, the sound is quite very low. So can you just raise your voice? Maybe problem from my computer or something?
Can you turn up your volume? Is that?
Yeah, I already did.
Can everyone else hear me right?
Sorry.
Yeah, fine.
So what I was saying is, have you looked into how phone apps can be used, like applications for the phone can be used for creating habits and getting those cues as notifications, so that you get to do what you have to do or what you want to get into the habit of, just by getting notifications and telling you to do this and to do the other thing that you want to do. Sorry if that was confusing.
I don't know if I understand that or not, and actually I'm sorry for my English, but I just focus in this book to see how I can acquire a habit or eliminate bad one. And as I mentioned, this is because in Egypt we are not used to do the researches and this stuff in our learning. That's why I started to say how I can. It was new for me that I have to read a lot, not specific content or something or book to go for exam or something to success or to reach the higher level. So I found suddenly that I have to read, and I am not that type of people who love reading or used to read. That's why I found James Clear, and actually I don't know any other resources or something. And I'm sorry if I don't understand your question. I'm very sorry.
It's okay, Mohsen. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll get over to you.
A great talk, Mohsen, a great topic as well. Atomic Habits is one of my favorite books. So any idea how long does it take before an atomic habit can become a macro habit? So how many days I have to read 2 pages before I can read the whole book?
I think it's around 100 day. It's about every day you get 1%, 1% of this habit of the something that you want to acquire. So I think it's of course it's depending on your skills and how much you like this habit. But it's around like this. You will acquire 1% every day.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you so much.
Some really good lessons there. I think for students currently revising for their exams, perhaps they should have a bar of chocolate every time they sit to study. And by the end of it, we can get Charles in to get us all super fit again. Never mind about the weight gained. Okay, brilliant talk. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mason.
I think we'll jump on to the next talk now by Michael Clunk. So Michael is an audio acoustics student and we'll be talking about different animal sounds.
My name is Michael Clunk and I'm currently a master's student studying acoustical engineering. As an acoustical engineer, I love everything that has to do with sound. Today, however, I want to take a closer look at some of the extraordinary sounds that come from animals. However, for this video, we're going to take an approach that's a little less conventional than most educational videos. Instead of just showing you a video of the animal making the noise, I'm going to give you a chance to imagine what the creature looks like just from its sound, by starting off with just an audio clip and following up with the video plus the audio. Let's go ahead and give the first sound a listen. What kind of creature would make that sound? It sounds like a chirp, doesn't it? Let's go ahead and watch the video. Yep, it's a cheetah. In fact, researchers believe that because the sound is so similar to that of a bird's chirp, it may in fact provide a sort of acoustic camouflage, confusing what would otherwise be predators looking for a cheetah cubs to instead believe that they are hearing birds. Okay, let's give our second sound a listen. Kind of terrifying, right? What creature do you picture when you hear that sound? Let's see the big reveal. Who would have thought the cuddly, cute koala bear that we all know and love would make such a terrifying sound? Benjamin Charlton, in an article he wrote for the Journal of Experimental Biology, found a direct connection between the size of the koala bear and the deepness of their growls. As a mating call, male koalas now actually have this direct method of demonstrating to potential mates their physical prowess. And they do this through this guttural sounds that they produce. Quite impressively, koalas have actually evolved to imitate sounds that would otherwise require a 50-centimeter vocal tract. This is one that's comparable to that of a bison. My last fun koala fact is that when the original Jurassic Park audio was being mixed, it was actually koala roars that were used for the T-Rex sound effects. Pretty cool. Last but not least, let's listen to our final sound. Does that even sound like a real animal? Every time I hear this noise, I am fully convinced that someone is squeezing a dog toy of some kind or a rubber ducky. Let's go ahead and see what creature could possibly make that noise. It's a stinking frog. More specifically, it's a desert rain frog. This noise is a frog's distress call, but honestly, I have trouble imagining what would be scared of that noise. Luckily, if you did hear this little guy out in the wild, you wouldn't need to be very concerned for your safety because this guy packs about as much punch as his rebel yell.
What a great presentation. My goodness. And so I was laughing to myself whilst watching that. It was so good. So we got the questions. So let's bring in Michael to the stream. Good to see you, Michael.
Hello.
Fantastic edit and such a surprising video too. So Ali, over to you.
Hi, Michael. That was a great presentation style. Sorry. And edition as well. I had a good laugh watching your video. So I was wondering, after so many different sounds for different, the animals use for different functions, have you encountered any animals that use these kind of weird sounds which are very unnatural to them, but very unnatural looking to us, to attract their praise, for example, or for anything similar to that?
This is kind of an interesting example because it's not really to attract prey, but a woodpecker. And it's actually related more to the biology of the woodpecker. So the woodpecker, of course, makes that the pecking sound on whatever kind of tree or whatever kind of trunk it's pecking on to get its food. But interestingly enough, the way it's able to do that, and this isn't how it makes the sound, but the way it's able to actually protect itself while it's pecking is that its tongue is wrapped all the way around its head. So its tongue actually acts as like a pillow behind its head. So the pecking sound is able to happen. He's able to hit the actual tree that hard because he's protected by his tongue that's wrapped all the way around his brain. It's kind of a crazy idea to think about, but if you look at a photo of it, you can see he's got his extra cushion in there.
That's very interesting, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Arijit, over to you.
Fantastic, Michael. I had no idea. I knew about the cheetah, but not the other ones. So a question about your koala. From what you described and what you showed on the video, I assume that that's a male koala?
Yes, it's a male koala. So it's the male koala trying to show how large it is to the female koalas. So
does female koalas sound different?
I know they definitely don't have the capacity to make growls that low. From what I have researched, the males have an extra vocal tract, I believe, that's kind of adjacent to the normal vocal tract, and that's novel too. I'm pretty sure it's novel to the male koala. I'm not exactly sure if the female can do it, but I know only the male can go that low. So the capacity for the male to do that is due to this extra vocal tract. And yeah, I'm curious whether the woman has that or the female has that, and how low they can go. That's a good question.
Fascinating. Thanks.
Some great comments coming in the stream there. Thanks so much, Michael. It's been great to hear your presentation. So yeah, well, who's next, Sarah?
So we've got our final presentation, Angela Oya. She is a sustainability student, and she'll be talking about decolonizing the education system.
Primary school in rural Kenya, there was a rule that you could only speak Swahili during a Swahili lesson. Otherwise, you had to communicate in English. Swahili and English are both Kenya's national languages, but unlike English, Swahili is native to Kenya. The punishment for breaking this rule was that you had to wear a hat that said Swahili speaker on it, and if you had another student speaking Swahili, you could pass the hat on to them. As a young girl in an educational setting, this taught me that I had to find shame and shun my own native language. But this runs deeper than just the language I could speak in school. Every theory we were taught was developed in the Western world. Fast forward to moving to the UK to pursue my psychology degree, and again, my coursework was full of middle-aged white men, but never anyone that looked like me. I began to wonder, was there space in the educational institution for people like me? The question of decoloniality runs deeper than alienating the global South. It dates back to colonial times, slavery, and imperialism that Europe waged on the global South. The modern world today is born of this violence and continues to run on the exploitation of the global South. The same violence is waged on the ways that we produce knowledge today. The colonial legacy universalizes European thought as scientific truths, while negating, subordinating, and invisibilizing knowledge, thinkers, and subjects from the global South. The colonial legacy has also convinced the global South to reject its own forms of knowledge, just like in my primary school. The imperialist engine that the modern world runs on have brought us a global challenge that threatens the survival of millions of species on the planet, including us: climate change. The system doesn't work. We are at an impasse. It is beyond time that we bring indigenous knowledges from outside Europe into the conversation. Ubuntu, an African philosophy, tells us that I am because we are. If we are to escape the systems that continue to fail us and destroy the planet, we have to recognize that we need each other and everything else on the planet. We need to listen to other forms of knowledge to increase our odds against climate change and other global challenges. My name is Angela Oya, and this is why we need to decolonize education.
Wow, what a topic to finish on. I mean, I have to say, what's impressed me so much in all these topics is they're really all important issues, and this is absolutely no exception. Let's welcome Angie into the stream. Hi, Angie, good to see you there. Hopefully we can hear you. Oh, let me just unmute you. Yeah. There we go. Phew. So we've got a couple of questions for you. Ali, over to you.
Hi, Angie. That was a powerful topic and very relevant nowadays, the colonization of education. Yeah. So I've been thinking about it. You know, how there are so many philosophies in the world, and the one we call Western philosophy, it has so many similarities with other philosophies, like the ones you mentioned, or even some Asian philosophies or some philosophies from South America. And there are some other differences which are, I mean, very different. But do you think of a way of putting them together so that they can have a conversation and come together to find a unified philosophy of the world or something like that? Is that something you have thought of? It's a big question, I know.
Interesting question. I don't think that there can be a unified philosophy of the world. I think that it is important that there are different philosophies and that we listen to them, because each of them have a different perspective to contribute to the knowledge. And the Western philosophy has been made the unified, the universal knowledge, and that's why I don't think that we should then try and find another big unified, but instead we should just acknowledge that there's loads of knowledge systems to be listening from. Yeah.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Yeah, great talk, Angie. It's really tough for me to restrict to one question on this topic, actually. Coming from India with 500 languages. And so the question to you is, but the other side of the coin is you need accessibility for us to understand each other. So the need of a common language. So how does one make it happen? How does one introduce all these indigenous knowledges into an accessible form of education?
Oh, wow. That is an interesting question. Right. So I'm not sure how to answer this. I haven't thought about this in depth, but probably I would say that because we have already been colonized, so I'm sat here speaking in English, and that's why we can all listen to each other. But then at the same time, I'm a fluent Swahili speaker, so people like me are a bridge between that form of knowledge and the new between that form of knowledge and making it accessible to all of us. And you probably speak loads of languages as well as English, and that makes you a bridge as well between that between those, what those languages can offer us. And I hope I've answered that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Difficult question, certainly, but thanks for finishing it off. Sarah, we've reached the end.
We have, I can't believe it. And I just have to congratulate Angie on tackling such a challenging topic. And I have to just also say, before we wrap up, that this is a topic that the university as a whole is very passionate about. And in fact, there's a lot of work going on at the senior level and within the Students' Union surrounding this topic. I certainly encourage you to continue these conversations on campus, because it's something that we really, really do care about. So thank you for bringing it into PassionFlash this year.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to invite people back into the room, the few remaining judges that we have. Great to see everyone sticking around until the end. But yeah, I can't quite believe we've reached the end without any major technical problems, it has to be said.
We've done well.
And it has been amazing to see such a variety of presentations as well. So the all-important bit now is coming up. And as I mentioned at the start, we have the judges have prejudged the videos, so we do know the results. But as I mentioned also, we will have a popular vote as well. Now, oddly, there have been some people voting already in the popular vote. So I'm going to reset to make sure we can have some integrity around the popular vote. We're going to have it live whilst we're watching. So we'll announce that at the end. But I wonder, Sarah, do you want to kick off with the announcements at this stage?
I will. I'm quite nervous. So
yes, me too.
A mistake. Okay, I'm going to start with the first year talks. And I will give the in order, so first, second, and third prizes. The thing I will say before I announce the winners is that the difference in terms of judging was extremely close. Quite often we're talking the fraction of a point, and I think there was about 7 or 8 judges, so we really desperately struggled with this. So without any further ado, I'll begin with the first year presentations. In first place, and again, this was extremely close. We're talking less than a fraction of a point between first and second prizes. So in first place, we have Anna Maria White. So she spoke about bees and neonicotinoids, and Anna is in first place, winning £250 worth of Amazon vouchers. Congratulations, Anna. Okay, next up after Anna, really close up behind Anna, it was really neck and neck. We have Leanne Ashworth, who spoke about climate change, and again, a wildlife conservation with zoo biology student. Congratulations, Leanne.
Amazing.
And keeping it all within the wildlife family, for the first time, we have our third prize for this year going to Rebecca Owens, who spoke about lemurs. So wildlife really came through for the first year. So congratulations.
Amazing.
Okay. Shall I go ahead?
No, I think let's go for it.
Go in, right? Okay. for the first prize, second year talks. First up, we have Adam Walker, who spoke about pleural mesothelioma. Congratulations, Adam. In second place for the second year talks, we have Axa Gollum, who spoke about congenital heart disease and got very creative. So well done, Axa. And again, this was extremely close, but in third place we have Nadia Patel, who spoke about the future of gene editing and used all of that wonderful artwork in her presentation. Okay, the judges really struggled with the third year in MSc tools. We do have the results in. So in first place, we have Michael Klunk from Audio Acoustics. Congratulations, Michael. In second place, we have Courtney Riley, a biomedical sciences student who spoke about genomics. Congratulations, Courtney. And again, this was extremely close, but in third place, we have Angela Uya, who spoke about decolonising the education system. Congratulations, Angela. And that's it. Well done, everyone.
That was such a tough call for all of these. They're so close, aren't they?
Really.
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing to see all these different presentations. And I certainly hope that all of you guys that submitted and reached the finals, and anyone that's still aspiring to reach the finals, will join us in connecting with each other after this event to build content for a whole range of those issues that you care deeply about. But shall we do the public vote, Sarah?
Let's go for it, Andy.
Okay, so we haven't tried this before, so we're going to try it. So I'm going to make sure everything's reset. So it's just for those people that are live now. So we've got around 40 people that are watching. I'm going to reset the results, and then we're going to go straight into the vote. So you've all got the link. I'm going to show you the link in case you don't have it, but here is the link you need to get to the voting system. So it's on menti.com, and there's the code. So if you have a different device with you, you can simply open it up and type in 9635 8225. And as you do that, the results will be coming up live in front of me. So I'm seeing them appear, and we'll see who ends up as the overall winner. So we want one winner for the whole thing, which is just an additional bonus prize that we've added in at the end. So it's very nerve-wracking.
How long do we have? Oh.
I think we'll give it 3 minutes maximum, and we'll see what we have at the end of it. I can see the votes are coming in, so keep them coming. It's going to be interesting. And again, thanks to the judges for being here across the session, especially to those that have come from outside the university. Danny, Mark, it's great to have you here and support our students who have done such great work in putting this together. It is a project that's taken a few months to realize, and yeah, we hope to do it again, don't we, Sarah, next year?
Absolutely. We want this to be an annual thing. We want it to get bigger and better. I have to also, again, acknowledge that lots more, I think there was about 30 students that came through in the initial auditions, and even making that initial elimination was really tough because all of you were just so excellent. So yeah, just well done, everyone who took part, even at the very early stages.
Definitely. So I've got 21 votes in. We'll give it another minute. If anyone's having any problems with the voting, let us know in the chat and we can make sure it's all figured out. But it's very exciting. And it's, of course, part of a bigger sort of network of people at the university that are doing science communication work. We try to make this as expansive as possible to ensure that people feel they can share whatever it is they're studying. And a lot of us feel quite strongly that whereas science communication in the past is often focused on those STEM subjects, we have a very much a STEAM approach to science communication, where we bring in science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics. So we cover every discipline. And it's partly because I think, many of us within the school and the university are all coming from very different backgrounds, with very different experiences, and it really certainly enriches our environment to have that expertise. Sarah, I know you run or oversee a bioart community as well in the university.
Well, I can't take too much credit for that. I think we've got Naroshni here. I have been an assistant on that. I have zero artistic talent, but we do have a broad range of artistic. We have a lot of artistic talent among student and staff. So yeah, we did have a project, a competition actually that ran. I think it was in the run up to Christmas, and then we had an event in January where we celebrated. I think again around 30 students came forward and took part in this bioart competition, and we're very, very fortunate to have secured some funding from the Salford Advantage Fund to now continue that as a project moving forward, so students can start developing their own material that they might want to think about entrepreneurship opportunities and that sort of thing using their art prints. So lots coming up over the summer and in the new academic year for students to take part in. Definitely right. Well, I'm going to close the voting and show you guys what the result has been. It's really interesting. Okay, I'm going to share it with you guys. Hang on, bear with me for 1 second. So this is now based on around 36 votes that we have within the stream. And this is the final result. Let me get rid of this overlay and we can see what we have. So who do you think is going to win, Sarah? Have you got someone in mind that thinks going to win? It was really difficult, and I have to say the first year talks were extremely close. Yeah. So the person that was really, really close, and I think it was, it could be Charles. I could be wrong. It was very, very close, and I think we just all got a little bit weak for the animals. But great present. I don't know. All right, so this is where we are with the final voting. This is what it looks like. Hopefully you can all see that. Oh. So the overall vote goes to AXA by just margin of 1, which is just incredible. But I think it's it's remarkable spread of votes that we have there, and I think certainly there's really powerful projects, very powerful talks around important subjects has really been very popular for people, and costumes, of course. Absolutely. Well, congratulations, AXA. Well done. Congratulations. So there we go. We have finished. That's it. We're done. We've wrapped up. It's PassionFlash complete for 2021. We're over. Thank you all for being here, and thank you all for the comments in the chat. Sarah, I'll hand over to you for the last words. Just again, thank you very much to the Salford Community for Excellence in Learning and Teaching who funded this project. Thanks for Dave, to Dave and Naroshni who have helped a massive amount over the last couple of years, but also all the judges that have come forward to help this year, not just the ones present here right now, but also the ones that helped with the auditions. Thank you to the students, both the ones that have come through to the finals, but also the ones that were part of the semi-finals as well. And also, I just want to say, watch this space. If you've competed this year and you haven't won, it doesn't mean that you can't win next year. And also, it's not the winning that counts. It really is the taking part with this particular competition. So thanks, everyone. Definitely. Can I just say a big round of applause to Sarah and Andy for a fantastic
Absolutely. I mean, thank you so much. So much work has gone in. Very well. And Andy and Sarah, brilliant, because it's not only enhanced just 1 or 2 programs, but all the programs enhanced. And thank you, really, really thank you to Sarah and Andy. And congratulations, guys. I mean, they were fantastic. Absolutely fantastic talks.
Thanks so much, everyone, and have a good rest of your day. Well done. We'll be in touch. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. See you. Bye. Bye.
Oh, thanks. Bye.